Oh, that's
Maybe.
quite okay, buddy. All right. Waterflame dropped a new album recently, and so which is just lovely.
It's Waterflame.
Waterflame is the artist that we are listening to right now, and this is his song called Swirl. But that's enough of that. Hey, everybody. Yay, we're all back together. It's so good to see you all. My name's Chris Melissinos, and I'm the principal evangelist for video games over here at AWS, and this is Boss Rush, where we are together for to dissect games industry news of the week. And with me are my co-hosts, starting with Mr. Takahashi. Introduce yourself, please.
Hey, Dean Takahashi, lead writer for GameSpeed Adventure Beat, live from Los Angeles.
Yes.
Game Awards. Yeah.
And the Games in Hollywood forum that you did, right?
Yeah, our Hollywood and Games event was yesterday as well, and it had a nice crowd of 270 people or so.
Very nice. Very good. And with us here all the way across the pond is...
That's me.
That's you. I crossed many ponds, rivers, and lakes to get over to Mark and Dean, but only one very large gulf between us.
Susan Cummings, I don't know, game industry deteriorating person 30 years later.
Industry
Veteran.
maverick.
Tired. It's like 5:30 over here, but good and happy to see you three.
Yeah,
So.
likewise.
Gotta get your marketing people to work on that intro a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll punch it up. I can't punch it up in post, but we'll punch that up eventually. There we go.
It only gets worse from here.
And then, of course,
It
we have
does.
with us, as always, Mr. Mark DeLora.
Hey, I'm Mark DeLora.
And what do you do?
What do? I am founder of a consultancy that does the intersection of games and education. Former Sony, former Nintendo, former Obama White House.
Former Obama Wise. And of course, if you still read books, those are those paper things that typically have hard covers on the front and back. Mark was also the creator of the Game Programming Gems series of books that has adorned many, many game developer shelves for many, many years. So, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. All right, we got everybody together. So, yes, like we said, yay. That's so great. Man, what a big... Okay, well, first... Sorry that I wasn't around during the Thanksgiving weekend, kind of all that stuff. Rather, right after that, I was away in Las Vegas at reInvent, which is AWS's big yearly show. And it was my first time going to reInvent, and I was thinking to myself, oh, this feels just like Java 1. It's fantastic. It was great. So many really cool. And the best part was, just real quickly, there was this one group that created a board game that were using servos to open like dungeon gates and to move objects around on the board. And you played this role-playing game where you were learning to put together cloud-based development services, but all in this D&D style story. And it was fantastic. They all dressed in wizards robes. It was awesome. I was like, yes, this is what I want to hear. So it was exhausting, but I'm so glad to be back. So glad to be back. So yeah. What
was your event, Dean?
Well, we missed you.
Oh, well, and I missed you too. And I missed, Gene, tell us briefly about the event that you were hosting yesterday out there in LA.
Oh, we had some very fascinating speakers on the subject of Hollywood and games, topics like how to do adaptations of games into movies and TV, and how to sort of look at the global market. And Matthew Ball was sort of predicting what would happen in 2025, and how there are things that Hollywood has done, like seeing the rise of regional films, like say in South Korea and China, that have not yet happened in the game industry, where like just last night, at the Game Awards, like Black Myth Wukong, won action game of the year, action adventure, and they beat out quite a few other Western games to get that. I thought they actually might have a shot at winning game of the year as well, but Sony actually came and stole that. But that kind of sort of trend is probably still to come for games like, say, the rise of the Chinese market, where Chinese mythology-based games could actually be very popular on the global stage, and then maybe the same for the Indian market too. And so, just different kinds of trends like that. We had people talking about these things and what's to come. And very interesting conversations. We had it at the Grammy Museum, and filled the place with a lot of interesting people. So a marriage of Hollywood and games people.
Wonderful. And thank you for the invitation to come and MC it. Unfortunately, I couldn't be out there, but I'm in for next year, buddy. So keep that spot open. Happy to come on out and do that. Yeah, that's awesome. And then, yes.
I had to write 17 stories yesterday, too.
I was going to say, man, look, I've got the browser up here right now. And I was just going, well, let's see how many, of Dean's team leaned in here. And I'm like, oh, wait, Dean. Oh, there's a couple from Rachel. Dean. I'm like, aren't you supposed to be doing a conference somewhere? But we're going to go back and talk about those in just a little bit. Yeah, let's talk about the game, event that happened last night, which was just amazing, right? 10 years for the Game Awards and Jeff Keighley, and really just hats off to him for sticking with this and actually building something of that quality and caliber. Like, it was awesome last night. I don't know about you all. Like, I want to hear from you all. Like, what were the big surprises? What were the things that you were most excited about? I've got a couple, but I'm going to hold them back while you all talk. And those of you that are listening, go ahead and let us know in the chat, either on YouTube or on LinkedIn, what was your favorite moment of the night? What do you think was a miss? Those sorts of things, and we'll discuss them. So who wants to jump in and talk about what they saw and what they were excited about?
I can talk generally about some things as well as some of the bigger sort of moments. And I think one of the things that Jeff Keighley did that didn't happen, say, last year, was that he listened to people who were quite upset that there was such a short time on stage for people to give their acceptance speeches, right? And they got like 30 seconds or so, and then they started playing music last year. But this year they did not do that. And so actually, people got to say their thanks and give a little speech and do it on their own time, and really that was a welcome change compared to many complaints they got last year about people getting drummed off the stage, right? So that was good. You could see also a half dozen security guards standing up in front of the stage to stop anyone, like has happened in the past, from running up on the stage and seizing the microphone, right? And that was an improvement as well. So I think they have learned, and they respond. They also addressed the topic of layoffs, right, in the industry, which Jeff was criticized in the past for not doing, right. And this year he created a Game Changers Award, and he gave it to Amir Sadfat, who has diligently come up with all the resources for finding jobs, and has helped 3 people find jobs at a time when 34,000 people have been laid off, right? So that was some very emotional and amazing moment, and an acknowledgement that the industry's had some very tough times. And so, like, this is all different from the sort of detachment that seemed to be there like a year ago. Right?
Yeah, this it feels, Dean, all those pieces, it feels like it's maturing, right? And as our industry is maturing, acceptance is broadening, by the general public. This just continues to get more refined and better. I've got up here the webpage, the article that you did on Amir Sadfat. If you haven't seen the clip, go watch it. He is... every bit of what you see on in that clip is exactly who he is. There's no ego there. There's no ulterior motive. Like, he just wants to help people. And I've had the opportunity to spend time with him when he was here at AWS, and where our friendship started and kind of grew. And the lead up to it, he had texted me and said, "Here's what I'm wearing for the show tonight." And I was driving, so I couldn't really see the picture. And I'm like, "That looks like a King's Quest reference." Just looking, he goes, "Yeah, it's Graham," right from there. So, and then my Zelda jacket. So I've got the old and the new in one. I'm like, it is pitch perfect. Absolutely pitch perfect. And
He's a super fan. Yeah.
he is a super fan, and that's where that source of that love comes from in the work that he does. He is truly just an amazing human being, and I can't think of anybody in the industry right now more deserving of that award than Amir.
Yeah, and it's amazing to think that it was able to accept this award on stage in front of probably 100 million people. And so
Yes.
that's crazy,
Yes, I do want to share one story about that, and if he needs me to edit it out again in post, we could do that. But when he talked about in his acceptance speech, right, in the video that was done prior, he said, he joined the industry relatively late. He joined in his late 30s, and I remember there was a point where, in looking at different opportunities, there was some feedback of, "Oh, well, it's great that you like games, but we need somebody that really understands the industry," right? The point is, if you're always going to look for the perfect person in your mind, you're going to miss the people that want to put everything that they are into the industry and into the games that they make and work on. Like, look beyond just the pedigree that person has. How, can we open the door to let more people come in that love video games, that really understand, that want to be part of something bigger? And that always rubbed me the wrong way, because I imagine at some point that person's going, I think we missed the boat on on hiring this guy. He's amazing. He is amazing.
Well,
Congratulations to Tencent.
one reason it did take him that long to get into the industry was that he wanted to live in the town where he grew up. And,
Yep.
be close to family, and be part of that whole sort of network that his family had in Connecticut, right? And there are no game companies in Connecticut, right? And so for the longest time, I think that's one of the main reasons why he could not participate in games. But with the pandemic and with remote work becoming much more popular, he was able to break in and shift into such a job at first Amazon and now at Tencent. And I think that kind of flexibility allows someone like Amir to actually participate in games.
100%. Before we move on, Zach Nass, who is here in the chat there. Hey, Zach. Zach was one of the people that was in that opening video there. And he said, "Hi, I'm Zach from the Amir video. Thank you for shining an even greater spotlight on the work he's done." Zach, thank you. And thank you for participating in that as well. And also talking about the vulnerabilities that that you were facing, right? It's important to remember that behind all these games, right, are people wanting to make art and wanting to build this stuff for everybody. And these impacts have very real consequences for those in the industry. So thanks, buddy, for leaning in. So anyway, yes, Amir, fantastic. Super excited for him. All right. What other big news pieces from there?
Yeah, talk about some of the winners, maybe.
Yeah, let's go do that for sure.
Yeah, as noted, Black Myth Wukong won the best action game. It beat out Call of Duty in New England. Astrobot won best action adventure, and so it seems to me Helldivers 2 also won best multiplayer. Right, these are all the surprise hits of 2024, and I think. I was thinking, wow, it would be a very big moment for the Chinese if they actually won Game of the Year. But in this case, it went to Sony, it went to Astrobot and Team Asobi, and almost more like an unusual choice in that it's all right? It's cute. It's not one of these epic giant huge narrative games, right? It's just a lot of moments of fun, and in some ways, I was not expecting it to take that top title. The other contender that was in there was Balatro.
Yeah.
So it's a card game that's a fusion of poker and solitaire.
And
And
a roguelike.
something that came from the 1800s or so, and this kid played it when he grew up, and he said, "I'm going to make a game out of this." And so he made a digital game out of Balatro, and he was a solo developer. It was up for Game of the Year.
Yeah.
Did not quite get it, but got things like best. I think it was best mobile game, or yeah, and so
Best
it was
best independent game. Let's see. Here we are. Best independent game, best debut indie game, best mobile game. So okay.
Yeah.
Sorry he didn't win Game of the Year. He won 3 awards, right, for this. So he should be exceedingly proud of what he's done.
Yeah, and his name he goes by Local Thunk, and did not share his name and did not go up on stage. He sent the publisher people in to accept the award.
Aw.
But Keeley said he was there in the audience, very shy person, but I think amazing that he had such a result.
Yeah.
So that was it's very different kinds of awards this year that I think it's welcome to see that recognition.
Yeah. Yeah. What did you all think? Mark, Susan, did you have a chance to look at any of the award winners or much of the award show?
I'm totally behind. I'm gonna admit it.
That's okay. That's all right. You have a lot going on too, right? So that's all right. I had to catch some of it.
I want to catch up for sure,
and some of it this morning on the work in the work morning here. But Mark, how about you, buddy?
5 hours. So yeah, I'm catching up too. As in, I'm gonna go watch a trailer, video. Because it was so long. The only thing that I saw that like really stuck out, aside from the fact that I was like super cheering on Astrobot, and really happy about friends at Sony who were involved.
Oh yeah.
The thing that I saw that struck me was this, like, pursuant to what you were just saying, Dean. Like, if you look at the player's voice set, 4 of those 5 games are from China, and that's interesting. The 5th one is Elden Ring. So, there's a sea change happening for sure. And the stories that can be told, from other cultures through games, I think are starting to break through, and hopefully we'll see more of that.
Yeah, Squid Game, things like that, right? Squid Game actually made an appearance in one of the announcements at the show. Like, they have a mobile game that's coming out on December 17th, and then season 2 of Squid Game comes out on December 26th. And so Netflix is actually starting to really understand, transmedia strategy. And I know everybody wants a different word than transmedia, but still. That's what they're doing, and I think that's working really well. But yeah, the players all voted for Black Myth Wukong to win the award, and that's big. All right, I mentioned some other big things.
Well, hold on. Before you move on from that, I want to say, Dean, when you were talking about Astrobot, it's not this big thing, but the thing that works, and was so happy to see them in there, especially in the top 5. I think 3 were Nintendo properties, right? Which we're used to seeing in there. It went to Astrobot, and the thing about it is, it reaches across both type of demographics in the house, right? Kids to adults. Kids because of the environment and how cute the Astrobots are and everything else. But going through and seeing all of the callbacks to all of the Sony properties over 30 years, that was amazing, right? And so I'm still playing through part of the first one to get the last bit of collectibles. And it's weird things like, here's the PlayStation Vita memory stick. And it's fully modeled. You can zoom in on the packaging and stuff. Like, it is such a love letter to people who love games and grew up with the properties. And I think that's why it really works. It's solid gameplay, beautifully constructed, really innovative design with the controller. But then it's got all those touches of, oh, that's really the lip of a PS5. Like that's making this part of the hill here, you know? I loved it. I think very well deserved. The team did amazing stuff there. And I got one big surprise from game announcements. I was like, what? Did you all see Shadow Labyrinth? It is a Pac-Man horror type game from Bandai Namco, where at the end, I mean, it's the Pac-Man character with a million teeth, you know, like chomping, and it's not a horror one. It's an action, you know, type of game. But they're like, and
amazing.
you're watching, you're like, wait a minute, that little orb following the character looks like Pac-Man. Then you heard like, "Waka," and I was like, oh my god, okay, this is some sort of Pac-Man thing. And then yes, it turns. It was called. I think the tagline was like, "Eat the darkness."
Oh no!
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's come up with names. Oh.
Yeah, Darren Gladstone, friend of ours, Darren Gladstone, right, was joined today. He said Pac-Man by Rob Zombie. Oh, my goodness, yes. All right, I'm sorry, Dean, didn't mean to cut you up, but I had to get that one up before I forgot about it.
Oh, no, I was pointing out some great variety of things here, like most anticipated game, Grand Theft Auto 6.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise. Best adaptation was Fallout, the Fallout TV series one.
Oh, yeah. That was awesome.
I think Sim strategy game, Frostpunk 2. Metaphor Refantasio won quite a bit as well, like best narrative, let's see, best RPG, and let's see, the audio design for Senwa Saga Hellblade 2 was they won that, and that was amazing, you know, because they did such a good job of putting voices in your head that were coming from all directions, right? That's part of the sort of the mental health theme of psychosis that you know, the main character suffers from or has to deal with. And the Melina Jurgens won as best performance for Senwa's Saga Hellblade 2, and she's the only actor who's won twice in the Game Awards, right? So for this performance, and she won for the original Hellblade as well. So that was very interesting to see.
Yeah.
And
well, what was the biggest surprise from announcers?
Well, I mean, as far as premieres, you mean that?
I meant who was on stage, because I just about lost my mind when I saw him.
Oh, well, you mean like Snoop Dogg or
Harrison Ford, buddy.
Oh, Harrison Ford,
when they brought him out there with Todd Howard, right? And and then he was like, I mean, the place went
Troy
nuts.
Baker, right?
Yeah, and Troy Baker. And Harrison Ford was like, if I had known, he's like, this guy, Troy Baker, was really great. Basically, he voiced, you know, he voiced Indiana Jones for the game, which the game is extraordinary. I'm just maybe an hour or two into it now, but oh my gosh, just incredible.
Yeah, I actually finished it right before I came, and it's
amazing.
It's a 5 out of 5 game. Yeah.
Yeah. You know? And so Harrison Ford jokingly says, he was really good. If I had known he was that good, I would have just done it myself. And I was just like, yes. Oh, you got the Harrison Ford dig right there on stage, which is amazing. Yeah. So, although right. Yasin here in our chat says, Amir gets me more excited than Harrison Ford. I'm like, yeah, good job. Good job. So
that's the breadth of the industry that is very good to see, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think we saw that in the results, right, across, you know, the solo games like Balatro all the way up to, you know, big budget games too.
Yeah.
Balatro just picked up a big award over here too, from Pocket Gamer, was it?
Yeah, it also got the Apple Arcade Game of the Year as well.
Very cool. Yeah, very. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have to play it. I'm not into poker. I love a roguelike, and I know it's supposed to be like you don't have to be into poker to play it. Have not done it yet, but I think I have to. Clearly.
I think you do.
Yeah.
Well,
you like poker, though, Mark?
No, and
okay, you still like it.
Yeah, I'm not a poker guy, and so I didn't play it for a while, but I can appreciate it. It's well designed, it's well done, but it didn't stick for me.
I just reinstalled Slay the Spire, so you know I've been looking for the
Well, Steve Fowler here in the chat said Balatro on iOS is the first game to top Minecraft on top sales list for premium games in like 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, single developer. kind of
It's very
Yeah,
addictive.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
amazing.
And then
We should-
as far as premieres go, there was a rumor that Half-Life 3 was going to be
Yes.
making its debut there. It did not happen, right? But we did get the other big rumor come true, which was Naughty Dog introduced this intergalactic game that
Oh, yeah.
is their brand new original IP, and some people thought, oh, they're going to make The Last of Us Part 3, but no, they announced this game, and it's a sci-fi game, and looks very.
Did you say
interesting.
intergalactic?
Yeah. they've
Yeah,
been
another
working-
dimension, a new galaxy, intergalactic planetary. There's your
Yeah.
Beastie Boys reference for the day. So
So they've been working on this since 2020, right? So very interesting that they showed that. And
that is very cool.
I don't know. Lots of other interesting announcements. Joseph Ferris was up on stage again using the F word a lot. What was the thing? He said, we fuck things up without fucking up.
Right.
Yeah, and that's their approach to making games. So Ferris, made It Takes Two, and it was the game of the year in 2021, and it sold more than 20 million units for EA Originals.
Wow.
Another
I had no
EA
idea it
original.
sold that well. Wow.
Yeah, EA Originals coming back in March of next year with something called Split Fiction, which actually looks amazing as well. Where you have a sort of like two writers, one's a sci-fi writer and another's fantasy. They go try to publish through this guy who does simulations of the novels,
Mhm.
and a glitch causes them to get mixed up with each other, and then they're in the same world. And it is a co-op two-player split screen game. And on the one side, when you're playing as Mio, you're in the science fiction world, and as Zoe, you're in a fantasy world, and you switch into those worlds at different points, but you also can kind of go in parallel, where one side is sci-fi and the other side fantasy. And so this is very hard to do because it's like running two games at once on a machine, right?
Yeah.
And that's why nobody does split screen games anymore. But these guys have figured out how to do this in a co-op way and specialize in it. And so, It Takes Two was that way, and now they're doing it again with this. And they're doing it in ways that make so much sense. Like, say, you could be sliding down something on the left side, and you see an obstacle coming up, and so then you have to switch over to the right side real fast, or crash. And then as you switch, you seamlessly become to the fantasy world or something from sci-fi. So it's just it's very well done. I got to play it and interview Ferris as well, and yeah, he's they're doing something that is just so unique that nobody else is even trying to challenge him.
I'd say there's a VR game called Pixel Rift. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but in there you kind of get to mix. There's part of the game where you go to a store and you're like in front of two displays like we used to have, when you walk up to a Super Nintendo display, you walk up to a Genesis display, and then part of the game that you're playing, it appears on one of the TVs, but then it moves to the other one. So you have to turn and grab the controller of that one and continue pieces that are then affecting things back on the other one. So I love games that try to, try to bring us into those different spaces. To your point, running two games at once. Pretty awesome. I would also, if I may be so bold as to share it, I did an interview with Sean Layden, the former chairman of PlayStation Worldwide Studios, that just went up yesterday. And in there, we talk about the big changes that are happening in industry and some of the fear that, he has voiced about AAA games and the barrier to entry there because of the cost, and how we're going to see a rise of indie developers and these sorts of things, which we've talked about right on here quite a bit. And again, seeing the people that won, the games that won, really point to that, right? That you can make a game and you can get out there and compete with the biggest names and win, right? It's pretty cool.
I mean,
There's a Chris. I don't know if you saw the link that I just posted in our chat.
Oh.
This guy scraped the entire Steam catalog and shared data of it. It's fascinating, and a lot of indie stuff in there that has. Terraria is still the biggest thing on there after all these years.
Isn't that crazy?
So, yeah, it's
That's
super
amazing.
interesting. Yeah.
I mean, Matthew Ball pointed out to some of the downside of this in our conference yesterday, where he noted that there's 17,000 new games coming out on Steam in a year, and they are all going after the percentage of time that gamers have dedicated to playing new things. The problem is they're playing so many old games now, say like Call of Duty Warzone. On a daily basis, or that it's very hard to pull them away from those 6-year-old games over to brand new things. And so when you have 17,000 new games coming, you're not going for 100% of the gamers' attention. You're going for maybe 10% of the gamers' attention.
That's right.
And so it's even more competitive and difficult to try to grab that time away from people who are establishing these habits of playing some games like live services games over and over and over.
Right.
Sony tried to do a live service game, but they also found that it's hard to pull people away from other live services games that the people are already into, right? Yes. So it's hard to beat Minecraft, or it's hard to beat Warzone, etc.
And I think we've also talked about this on here before, which is as we're also acclimating people to experience portioned media, right? Again, an hour sitting down. I know it's happened to all of us. You sit down going through whether it's YouTube Shorts or TikTok clips, and you're like, I'll just watch a few. And then an hour went by of you watching 10-second video clips, right? And we become acclimated to that, I think, too, in the body of the amount of time that you have to play. Wouldn't it be great to just have shorter experiences so I could experience more stories, more play in that short amount of period, that short amount of time that I have. So we're acclimating consumers, right? And the population to consume content in that form. It's not surprising me at all that games are going to follow that form as well. Not that we're not going to have 120-hour games. Sure, we're going to. Absolutely. Just like you have 3-hour movies that you can go and see. But now there's room to have all the smaller stories, which opens the doors for indies, right? And opens the door for getting games out there faster. So pretty cool.
Oh, once upon a time, it was okay to just charge a quarter, right? And expect it to be over really quickly.
But you charged a quarter, and we said, and we've tweaked the gameplay here, so you will be dead in a minute. Keep getting those quarters in, kids.
So harder and cheaper.
Not necessarily harder, engaging, right? Fulfilling and cheap. How about you, Mark? What's going on in that big brain of yours right now?
I'm trying to remember. There was an article that went up. I think it was a New York Times editorial. I was just trying to track it down. Sadly, I didn't find it, but this was just a couple of days ago talking about this phenomenon, and it was referring to the fact that people are sticking with games for years and years at a time, but in the context of kind of game developers are terrible and trying to make things that are addictive, and that kids are stuck playing these games because, they're using psychological tricks on you, blah, 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 blah. So, that's still out there. It's just a couple days ago. I was like, come on, really? Are we still having this conversation?
Yeah, well, this is like the guy who assassinated the CEO. The first thing they talked about is the Among Us.
Yeah, he trained in Among Us.
Among Us is going to turn you
right,
into a
murder simulator.
Trained as an assassin, right? Yeah.
Right, the assassin. Yeah. Wow.
Paw Patrol is going to turn you into a dog catcher. For God's sake.
Yeah. I didn't know that you all knew that in your neck is just one large bone.
Right. It just pops off.
That's it. That's the sound it all makes. Boing.
Yeah. Sorry. The other thing I was trying to figure out was you were talking about that game that's like the split fantasy and sci-fi screen, the EA game that's coming. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you guys remember, there have been a couple of small like indie games that split the screen into quarters. So, and there was a simple game running in each quarter of the screen, in each diagonal corner. and you could switch between them as you were playing. And so you would be trying to, like, in this one, you'd be, running along left to right in a game. And on the upper right, there would be a car racing game. And so you'd have to switch back and forth as like obstacles showed up. And I was like, boy, the thing you're talking about seems like it was totally inspired by that. I just cannot remember. There've been at least a couple of those, like itch.io kind of games.
Yeah, well, there was a game done by EA back when they were in their really experimental phase, when they were doing Mirror's Edge and things like that, called Henry Hatsworth and the Puzzling Adventure. So the top part of the screen was a side scroller, but the bottom was like match 3 thing, and you had to do things down there that then would accrue to the top screen. So you were constantly context switching between the two.
Like that.
You need a big old brain for that. Okay. All right. So, what are the surprises out of the evening?
There was an announcement of Wargaming had a new intellectual property they announced called Steel Hunters. It was a science fiction mech game, mech fighting game, third person view, and what's interesting about that is that it's not a world of something game. It's not a world of tanks, it's not a world of warships or airplanes. It is a completely new IP, and they have not done this right in forever, and very promising that it's gotten to the point of being announced, because they have had to cancel a lot of games over time where they were trying to make something new, but just they have such high expectations for games now that they've just not shipped anything. But it looks like they are getting ready to ship this, and so that was interesting. Warren Spector's Other Side Entertainment. They came out with the sort of description of their game, which is in the sort of thief kind of tradition that Warren started many years ago. It's called Thick as Thieves, and the name suggests it's a 4-player thief game, stealth heist kind of game, where the players are competing to not only against the
environment, but against each other,
like robbing a mansion sort of thing, heavily guarded mansion, but they're also competing with each other to come back with the most loot, right? And so then they can work together, or they can also work against each other. And like if there's something you have to do to complete a task in order to move on with the heist, you can do that, but then you can also lay traps for any thieves coming behind you, and you can disable them.
Yeah, it's a bit of like remember Spy versus Spy back in the day, where you have to booby trap all the rooms and kind of capture them. And I love in this article that you posted here, Warren says, Thick as Thieves captures the vision of immersive gameplay that Other Side was founded on. With this game, we're empowering players to create their own stories in a world that values observation, craftiness, and problem solving. Sounds exactly like a Warren Spector game.
Emergent sort of strategies, I think, that are going to come from that game. So that looks pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think another big announcement, Dean, was so happy to see Warren do that and come out with this next game. One of the ones that surprised me was the creator of Eco, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian has a new game coming out. And that's the one where, and it's unnamed. And when I saw that kind of, the first crawl of that, I literally went, like, oh, okay. Because the last Shadow of the Colossus is one of my favorite games of all time. And then,
Ico is one of mine. You got me excited there.
Yeah, right.
There's no language, but it's all the language of what's going on in the world, right? Because you can't understand, the name, the language that the girl speaks. But then The Last Guardian. Oh my gosh, what an incredible game. So I'm super excited to see whatever the hell this is going to be, because I'll be there day one for sure.
Sam, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was very, very cool. What was some of the other big ones that we had in there? The new Lord of the Rings game. What is it? Tales from the Shire. That was announced.
And it's coming in March. They've been talking about that one for quite a while, and it's nice to see that it's sticking to its schedule.
Yeah.
A March launch for a very cozy Hobbit game.
Yeah, I was about to say it looked very cozy for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're going for a different audience with that one. And interesting that it's coming out at the same time. There's the anime show hitting the War of the Rohirrim about the Riders of Rohan. Animated movie in theaters now. So.
Yeah, that was surprising to see, right? That animated movie in theaters for sure. For sure.
I haven't heard good things about it though, right?
Yeah.
I want to like it, but I heard it wasn't very good.
That was what I read.
It's pretty good. So I don't know what, but I don't know much about it other than it's set 200 years before the events of the Lord of the Rings.
No AI driven.
54% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah. No AI created games or Web3 games at this year's Game Awards. So that was
that you know of.
We'll see how it goes.
We know of, right? Should we talk about the zombie and the 6 fingers?
Huh? Yeah, exactly.
6-fingered zombie.
Exactly right. Or the one where all of his teeth kept changing. That was
the best comment I saw on LinkedIn was someone suggesting it was just an allusion to it being Call of Duty 6, and that was why he had the 6th finger. I'm like,
okay.
I got about three things that are interesting that happened that also are not related to the Game Awards, but still very interesting stories. So the Latin American Games Showcase was sort of affiliated with the Game Awards this week, along with women-led games doing their own showcases. And one of the titles from the Latin American showcase was Anima Interactive's Take Us North, which is a survival narrative game about migrant journeys across the U.S.-Mexico border. They're coming at this from sort of like a social justice point of view, and I think that's very sort of interesting. They're doing a lot of research with, say, their own interviews with people at the border, and really kind of just tracking what it's like to cross the border and why people do it, and very interesting research or collaboration they're doing with UCLA as well. So I thought that was interesting. Mike Wilson, also, the Devolver co-founder, unveiled his new startup, Realize Music, and it is a VR app where you sing and you sing along to your favorite songs. He's got like a license for a million songs, and you can sing basically anything you want. And he believes that there's therapeutic value in singing. So this is classified as going to be classified as a wellness app when it launches in January.
Well, it'll be wellness for the person singing, not necessarily for everybody that has to hear sing.
And the reason
the quality of the music, right?
The reason why you're singing in VR, though, is that it actually is, an isolated experience where you feel like you're alone, and so then you can express yourself the way you would not do in a social situation.
Oh,
right.
Well,
so this is
maybe for 99%, Dean, but I think you probably know me well enough that I don't care.
But also,
Fill
it's
the
like
room, let's go.
It's not like karaoke where you are, singing without, the singer's voice to help you, right? Here you're singing to the other singers, lyrics.
So a bit rock band if you keep the singing on, right? Because you can turn it on
keep
and off.
Singing on, and so then in that sense, it actually sounds good to you, right?
That sounds incredible, Dean. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll see if people come out of their shells for this game. And,
Sorry, I didn't even know that he'd left Deepwell. This was news to me. So
this is actually something that kind of spun out of Deepwell, in that he felt like this was a game that was good for you. It's not really a game; it's more like an app.
I love that.
It's
I really do love that.
He feels is therapeutic, even if maybe it's not the kind of thing that might get FDA approval, right?
Sure.
Got it.
So
sounds very Mike. So.
Yeah.
Well, Dean, that's very similar to a game that was not part of the show but discussed was Everforest Merge, the puzzle game where you're building. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's not Everforge. It's Trees Please, right? Or Trees Please is the name of the company. Everforest is, and so it's this again cozy type of farming type of game, but the trees that you plant result in a real tree being planted in the world. And so they've done something like 1.2 million trees been planted or something like that as a result of playing the game, right? Which is really cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Gosh, I forget the name of the actual game, but yeah.
Yeah, the game Everforest Merge, where you play to restore and grow forest ecosystem and also plant real trees in the real world. So yeah, awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. There was one last thing I just wanted to bring up was one of the former 25-year Bungie veterans, Chris Barrett. His name came up in different articles related to Me Too problems, like sending inappropriate texts that crossed a line between professionalism and personal, and so he got into trouble for this at Bungie. It didn't immediately result in his firing, but he was fired in March of 2024 after the Sony acquisition of Bungie for $3.6 billion, right? And because he was a longtime veteran who started working on Myth 2 at Bungie and was, by the end of it, the game director on Marathon. He said Sony and Bungie fired him at a time when they were laying off a bunch of people because they wanted to avoid giving him a $45 million payout. And so that the sort of trumped up investigation, he said, that happened in 2024, related to allegations that came much earlier, was only done to get him out of there so they didn't have to pay him $45 million. So he filed a lawsuit. And it's a very unusual in that, like, a lot of people who say left companies because of Me Too, they did not wind up like countersuing in many cases, right? They just left the industry, I think. Barrett, by contrast, is filing his own lawsuit, saying that, and he spilled a lot of information in that lawsuit as well about things that were not appropriate at Bungie, but things that he said he was not engaged in. So.
Yeah, I mean, without
sounds like it all stinks.
Yeah, just a bad situation all the way around. I mean, I don't know details about it, so far be it for me to comment on the veracity of either side. Right? It's everybody just try to be better, right? Without knowing the details of it. It's
and on a slightly happier note, CD Projekt Red also announced one of the most anticipated games at the show, The Witcher 4, and it stars Ciri, the woman Witcher.
Okay, I was like, wait, what?
I was like, is this Apple Intelligence?
Not SIR. It's CIRI is how you spell Ciri's name.
Okay, there we go. Oh my goodness. Well, Dean, you had a couple of articles up here on the site that I thought were super interesting. That again, not related to the show. Walmart's Restart.Run, a new opportunity for developers to connect with gamers. This one was penned by Rachel Kaiser. Sounds like laser. That's how you remember her name. Content marketing agency Moonrock revealed today its new games journalism website, Restart.Run, an independent gaming website sponsored by major retailer Walmart. And Walmart's VP of Digital Content told GamesBeat in an interview, "We continually strive to meet the gaming customer where they are and provide exciting items and solutions for them as part of our broad assortment." So it sounds like Walmart is trying to create a gamer community that the publishers, developers can then engage with. Am I reading that correctly? That's it?
Yeah, interesting.
All right. We'll see if we're going to be part of the Walmart Gamers Collective, right? So that'll be interesting. And then one of the other articles that you had right up front here, which I thought was super interesting, and I've got the site here for you, is Beam Venture launches a $150 million fund to make Abu Dhabi into a global gaming hub.
That's great.
It is.
Yeah.
Then
Yes, it
what
is.
I say by looking at this is, what the hell type of Game Boy is that? And if you're going to then have some legitimacy to it, at least show a device that looks like a real machine instead of going, do these people know what game machines look like? So this is the problem with using AI to create some of these things and not having subject matter experts check it for you first. But
No, I mean, they didn't have to check copyright in order to use the photo. It's perfect.
yeah, but you can still create a cross pad and buttons and not run afoul of copyright because that's not a copyrightable thing, right? So, but hey, in all seriousness, I think it's great that more funding continues to come in, and we continue to do in places that we haven't before, right? Get more voices, more art, more storytelling, right, coming into our space. So I think it's great. Really, really cool. But that one just threw me off immediately. I was like, that's a perfect game for Atari. A cross pad and one button. That's it. So, we'll just make sure it works for the Atari 50th collection, and we'll be done there. So yeah, so those are the big game pieces. I'm really excited to go try the Squid Game Unleashed mobile game when it debuts. Of course, Squid Game 2. Oh, that's a lot to live up to, right?
Yeah. Highly recommend getting to Indiana Jones or getting through it as well.
Well, listen, I'm still rocking a 1080 Founders Edition, and it went, oh, your card doesn't do ray tracing. You can't play this game. So I told my son when he comes back from college for Christmas break, to bring his Series X, so at least I can go play it, because the PS5 version won't be out until 2025, and this will not stand. I must.
The easy solution.
Mark, what are you
like
doing?
a couple clicks.
No, you're going to get me in trouble. We're this close to the holidays here. I can't just be going and buying this. Plus, you just got a new 3D printer, right? So, oh my goodness. Oh yeah,
call it an extra Christmas present for yourself, Chris.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
why not? Another one we missed was Sega revives Virtua Fighter and debuts new IP at the same show, which is really cool. And I was reading an article yesterday about the CEO of Sega wanting to return I forget, was it James Milkey? No, maybe it was James Milkey that actually did the interview, but I think the title was, something like Sega CEO wants to bring Mega Drive back to Sega, and using it as a pun because the Genesis was known as the Mega Drive, right? In those former years, but they're talking about the reboots of things like Jet Grind Radio and older Sega franchises, and they said we want to bring a little bit of the rock and roll back that Sega had versus what they claimed as Nintendo's like jazz or easy listening. So that's the way they're thinking about it now. So it'll be pretty interesting to see what Sega does over the next couple of years. But it's encouraging. It's exciting. Yeah, so new Virtua Fighter game coming out. And Yu Suzuki, of course, the creator of Virtua Fighter and countless other games, has a new mobile game coming out. It's based around cats, and it's like an RPG, and it's got this beautiful anime style to it. So I'm blanking on the name right now, but that's also.
Are you talking about Catley, that one, or is something else?
Let's see. I'll look it up while we start talking about the games we've been playing right now and any other last bits before we wrap up, because we're already at 1:23 here on the East Coast. So let me go find the game while you all talk.
Yeah.
Well, I reinstalled Slay the Spire, and I am starting to play Barrow Trauma because Lee wants to play a co-op. You know what Barrow Trauma? It's like a submarine co-op game, side scroller. So
Slay the Spire 2 was announced as well, right?
I saw that, yeah. And there's a new community mod out. That was the reason I reinstalled it, was to check out the new And what else? And I've installed Rogue Legacy. You can tell I'm a bit in the Rogue thing at the moment. Lee's obsessed with Rogue Legacy 2, so I'm going back to Rogue Legacy 1. And pretty much that.
Nice. Well, Monument Valley 3 came out. I don't know if you saw that. It's Netflix.
It did.
Came out through Netflix, which was interesting too.
How is it?
It's exactly what I wanted.
Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna burn through it in like 3 hours and then be like, there were two interesting bits about the Monument Valley, aside from the fact that it came through Netflix. Another thing is that the folks at Us2 who made it have been talking about sort of influence of climate change on the development of that game, and you can see some of the game mechanics involve rising sea level, which is super interesting. Also, the game came out, and the way that the level selection works, you can see that there are 10 levels of the game that are included, and if you scroll over, or is it, I think it's 10, you scroll over to 11, it says coming in April, and then 12 says coming in September, and then 13 says coming in, or, I'm messing the days up, but I'm like, that's an interesting choice. Is the game done? Is it going to end when I get to that level, or did you just ship it because you ran out of time? I'm a little puzzled by that, but I'll report back.
And is it included in the price, or are these going to be like, I don't know?
I assume, but it's hard to say. I don't know. Yeah.
And if not, greedy developers, if you already had it done, you should have put it on the disc. And you're like,
maybe it's Netflix saying, hey, we want some kind of episodic content experiment here. So let's give this a shot. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, there was a big gap between Monument Valley 1 and 2, and it really left me wanting for more of that, right? So maybe that's a good way to kind of stretch that expectation out. Yeah. But I did find the game. Shenmue lead Yu Suzuki, of course, Shenmue, right? Where are the sailors at? Do you know where I can find some sailors? Some sailors, please. Sailors. Has a new game coming next year with anime vibes cranked all the way up. Only available on mobile via Netflix Games. And it is called, Steel Paws. Steel Paws is the name of the game. Don't know much about it at the moment, but the trailer shown at the Game Awards has an adorable art style and cranks the anime vibes to 11. And that was from our friends over at Games Radar. So that was the game. Yeah. For sure. How about you, Susan? What are you playing aside from Slay the Spire?
That's it, basically. Slay the Spire, Barotrauma, still playing World of Warcraft. I just installed Warcraft Rumble on PC to see what it's like on PC.
Oh, yeah.
And that's about it. Rumble. How much more time? No time.
How about you, Mr. Takahashi? Anything?
You're playing indie?
Okay. I said I'm still playing Call of Duty Black Ops 6 multiplayer, but I finished Indiana Jones. I think I get into Flight Sim and also Stalker 2, which I was not able to get to before.
I can't play those games, man. Cannot play them. I got enough nervousness in my life. Sean, in the interview I did with Sean, we were talking about Twisted Metal, and I'm like,
I love Twisted Metal.
Yes, but Twisted Metal Black, man, Sweet Tooth Life. I remember.
That is like Lee's favorite game of that whole era.
Oh, it's awesome. Especially when the giant Ferris wheel breaks free and starts careening into the environment. It's crazy. But all I remember from that game was shutting off the lights in the basement and then going to walk up, and I could just hear Sweet Tooth like in the back of my brain. And you're like, I'm a grown-ass adult, right? A father to children. And I'm like,
that's
Sweet Tooth? You're just,
Is this why you haven't upgraded your graphics card, Chris? Don't want to.
Yeah, I've been able to do 14.4 games for the most part now. Hogwarts started to make it scream a little bit, so I think it is time. It's time for the upgrade. So yeah, but I haven't had a chance to play many other games right now. But today, I am going to be playing the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind, which is the latest incredible game from our friends over at Digital Eclipse. Obviously, Power Rangers, outside of my era, my kids wanted to play, watching when they were growing up. But when you start to play the game, you're like, oh, this is like throwback to Konami, side scroller, TMNT, Simpsons, type of beat 'em ups, but with a whole bunch of amazing graphical flourishes and things like that. That really make it an awesome looking package, great cutscenes and everything else. And I remember when they were first starting to produce this, and Mr. Micah over there had shared some like early samples. I'm like, oh, you're going to make this like into, sprite scaler type of game? He was like, hell yes. And so now we get to see that now. So, that sound coming through, if you're not familiar, that is the Amazon chime sound that is typically made. If you've never had the pleasure of using chime,
What's
chime? What's that?
What's chime?
Chime is the Zoom-like video conferencing tool that we use here at AWS. And I forgot to go ahead and mute it before we went ahead and jumped into today's episode. But that's okay. What would Boss Rush be without one sort of glitch, right? That's kind of what we're known for.
Yeah, crazy sounds and snoring dogs.
Oh yeah, no, we caught Bowser there. We caught Bowser there. But you all missed it. You all missed the great cookie versus toast debate before we went live here today. So Mark is going to take that at least to his stomach, and not to the grave. We won't know what he was eating, but that's going to wrap it up.
Come on, tell us, Mark. What was it?
It's
toast or
toast.
cookie?
It's toast. It has to be
It's
toast.
cookie. It was
No,
a
it
cookie.
It was a raisin cookie with peanut butter.
Ah, it was a raisin cookie.
Was it really?
I love it.
I am disappointed.
Sorry, sometimes breakfast is breakfast. That's what I had.
You know why? Because that's what you say.
approve.
Because I'm a grown ass adult, and if I want a chocolate chip cookie or a raisin cookie with peanut butter on it,
Raisins are for
going to
breakfast. You got to have some protein. So
That's
Come
right.
on, what really separates a muffin from a cupcake? It's the same
right,
thing.
exactly.
Just the muffin top. But that's it. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Boss Rush. We'll be back next week, but then off right for the holiday break. I know, Dean, you're down there in LA. Thank you so much for taking time before you hopped on a plane back home. I was hoping, but was like, maybe, he's going to be too tired, so I didn't want to press you. And then Dean popped this morning and goes, are we doing a podcast? I'm like, hell yeah, we're doing a podcast. So thanks and to our friend Susan Cummings. Thanks for staying late, as always.
Thanks, everybody.
And Mr. Mark Delora.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, gang, you all have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next week. And please let your friends know. Go ahead and repost this link onto your walls on LinkedIn, Facebook, all the other places where you can push this stuff. And we love meeting with you all on Fridays and having this conversation. So thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day and an awesome weekend.
Play some games.
Yeah, go play some games. Bye.